Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I thought this for a long time, and that is the fact that certain countries, maybe certain entities, maybe certain organizations, the fact that they are not making any moves onto United States of America and its interest is not because they can't. I think it's because the decision hasn't been made for various reasons, and usually the main reason that keeps these guys from acting is retaliatory reasons. That is, well, if we do this and they don't like it, what could happen? And obviously when you get stronger, then you're not afraid of the possible consequences coming from the United States of America. A lot of things could have been done by the Russians and Iranians, or maybe even North Koreans, and especially the Chinese. And that is to open bases in other countries. The problem is the retaliatory aspect of it, the US retaliatory, not other, nobody else. No France, Great Britain, or Germany. It's retaliatory aspect coming from the United States of America. From the host country, including the Chinese government, Russian government. It seems like that aspect is dramatically decreased in its potency, and we see China making its moves and Russia in Africa and South America and in Asia. In Asia, not that much, but in Africa especially and in South America, which is a lot of bilateral negotiations and agreements between Russia and some African countries, China and some African countries. And the US tried to, come after all these things, and they couldn't change the African nations' mind because they like it or not, many Africans still have in mind certain kind of times connected to the Brits, the Germans, the French, and the Belgians on their continent, and they really don't like it. But they don't have a bad memory, for instance, regarding the Chinese or the Soviet Union. Therefore, they look at the Russians and the Chinese as being, I would say, neutral, or maybe some, someone who really wants to help them. I suggest that the African nations, especially, and the South Americans, will look for their own interest and will not allow themselves to be under anybody's thumb again. But unfortunately, money plays a big role, and corruption allows certain people to become the followers or the tools of the big interests. What happened here? We have China, Cuba, United States of America, and a training base. Put this together and then put them down there. It's gonna be Cuba and China, allegedly or reportedly, because it's Wall Street Journal reporting, will build a training. They're in advanced talks in opening a training base in Cuba. So it's not the Russians. I thought the Russians will cross the line, but the Chinese, it seems like they crossed it a long time ago. If you remember, a few days ago, 2 days ago maybe, again, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Chinese and the Cubans agreed to a spy base over there. Now there's a training base. They advanced, in negotiations. This is according to Wall Street Journal. The Americans played that down, maybe because they cannot show weakness and impotence in changing anything. So let's read this article coming from Russia Today, and it says that China and Cuba close to military base deal. Wall Street Journal. So they're very close to complete that. June 20th, 2023. US intelligence now claims that joint spy facilities on the islands were just the beginning. Beijing and Havana are in negotiations to establish a military training facility in Cuba, the Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday, citing current and former US officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Talks about the base on Cuba's northern coast are, and I'm quoting, at an advanced stage but not concluded, end quote, the Wall Street Journal claimed, based on what the officials described as, and I'm quoting, convincing but fragmentary, end quote, and highly classified U.S. intelligence reports. One current and one former official said the facility would be part of Project 141, a Chinese military initiative to set up bases and logistical support around the world. Well, they just copy their master, the perfect ones. If true, this, and I'm quoting, could provide China with a platform to potentially house troops permanently on the island, end quote, and potentially expand intelligence gathering against the US, they said. The journal's report comes shortly after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited China in order to, and I'm quoting, halt a downward spiral in relations, end quote, between Washington and Beijing. He was even received by Chinese President Xi Jinping for 30 minutes. Shook hands and then bye-bye. The same outlet had alleged the existence of a Chinese spy base in Cuba earlier this month. After first denying the report as inaccurate, the White House revealed intelligence reports that claim 4 Chinese intelligence collection facilities have been in Cuba since at least 2019. Cuba called the original Wall Street, as always, Washington State Journal, that's how I see it, Wall Street Journal report totally mendacious and unfounded, while the Foreign Chinese Ministry said on June 9th that the U.S. was and I'm quoting, expert in chasing shadows, end quote, in other countries and meddling in their affairs. Beijing also noted that Washington had blockaded Havana for over 60 years and maintains its own military base in Guantanamo Bay. The White House declined to comment on the new Wall Street Journal story. According to the unnamed officials, President Joe Biden's administration has reached out to Cuba to block the deal, citing, and I'm quoting, what it thinks might be Cuban concerns about ceding sovereignty, giving up their sovereignty. Other officials speculated that China's move might be a counter to the U.S. sending over 100 troops to Taiwan to train the local military earlier this year. Sometimes it's just a response. The journal noted that Taiwan was roughly the same distance from the Chinese mainland as Cuba from the U.S. It neglected to note that the U.S. recognizes the islands of Chinese under the One China policy, while Cuba has been an independent state since 1902. So, should the Americans be concerned? No. Why? You ask the Russians to be not concerned about NATO moving to their borders, putting installations over there. So why should you be? And besides, Russia with its rusty military and equipment, but you, so strong, don't worry. Why do you feel so insecure all of a sudden? And besides, if it's a rule-based world, if you can do this, then anyone else can do it, correct? According to the rule-based world. Or did I miss anything? You bet your ass I missed a lot of things, purposely. And that is what I can do, you can do if I allow you to. So this is how the story goes. And China and everybody else on this planet should do it because United States was voted as being the one in charge of everything and policing the world and making sure that it distributes justice. Well, I understand that some people would like that, thinking that they are on the side of the strong, but the rest of the world is on the other side. Why would they like it? Well, you might say, well, you shouldn't. The fact is, we have a bigger fist and we're going to punch you in the face whenever we feel like. So, and we want you to show us that you like that. That's even worse. But if I were to choose between a thug who says, yeah, man, I'm a thug, shut the fuck up, I want to punch you in the face, versus, no, I'm not a thug, bam, 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 bam. No, no, say I'm a saint. Say I'm a saint. You're a saint. Okay, I don't like this one. So this is how a lot of people, I would say maybe about 6 billion people on this planet sees United States. I didn't take a poll of opinion, but you know, you don't really want to be the one at the receiving end all the time. So I'm guessing that you don't like to be told what to do or else, unless you're just a, I don't know, a masochistic or a sadistic person. Masochistic, I don't even know how to take it, because sadism, yes, it's you know, you do it to someone else, and masochistic, you do it to yourself. So here is someone else doing it to yourself and you like it. That means must be, I don't know under what category that would fall. So nevertheless, the Chinese seem to be just copying the example set by the perfect ones and doing the same thing. The problem is the perfect ones somehow don't like to be copied. I know that a best way, best way of flattering is being copied by someone. So I think the United States must be very flattered at this point, seeing the Chinese copying their move. Isn't that the best way of flattering is copying someone? Yeah, so what do you think will happen? Well, unless the US will invade Cuba or will threats and blackmail did not work. So they either do some spontaneous uprising over there by the free Cubans, or they're not going to do a Bay of Pigs again, that's for sure. Probably they will do a little, I don't know, night attack and with their own forces and take over, raid over. That's the only way. Otherwise, are they going to blockade Cuba or something? Not impossible, but I don't think so. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.